What's going on, guys? You're very welcome to another wolf adoption update here on Degenerate Watch. Thank you very much for joining me. It's been a while since the last wolf update video, so we have quite a bit to cover in this one. Now, if anybody hasn't checked out our last wolf update video, I'm going to be leaving a link to that down below in the description. And for anybody new to the channel that's not familiar with our wolf adoption journey, that video explains it all from start to where we were last August. So definitely check that one out if you'd like to know a little bit more about how we got started doing this. Now, I hate to start the video off on a sad note, but at the end of February we got some sad news that one of the Mexican grey wolves at the centre called Diego had passed away at the age of 15 years old. Diego arrived at the Wolf Conservation Centre in 2015 with his two brothers Chico and Durango. The Wolf Conservation Centre was just a pit stop for his brothers before they journeyed on to new homes out west, but the Wolf Conservation Centre were privileged to have Diego spend the remainder of his life with them. It was there at the Wolf Conservation Centre that he found love and a family, two things in life that are never guaranteed but are so vital to happiness. Diego's first love strode into his life in the winter of 2015 when he met Mexican grey wolf Rosa, a powerfully fierce female with whom he welcomed one daughter, Trumpet, in the spring of 2016. This small yet mighty family unit delighted webcam watchers across the world with their playful antics and unyielding devotion. In this way, Diego taught a global audience about compassionate parenting, a key component of wolf packs. He also illustrated the importance of patience and grace when faced with new situations. In the winter of 2017, the family of three each went their separate ways, all bound for new adventures in an attempt to, unbeknownst to them, further aid in the recovery of their imperiled species. Diego was introduced to Magdalena, a headstrong and impassioned female who forced him to sharpen his skills of compromise and persuasion. In every tussle over food and gentle spat over den space that ultimately ended in a shared solution, we realised that wolves are better at coexisting with one another than we are. Thankfully, the final years of Diego's life were filled with a love that was both tender and passionate. He welcomed a new mate into his enclosure and his heart when spry and playful Valencia arrived at the Wolf Conservation Centre. It was a true match from the start, with the duo often spotted resting together, nuzzling one another and simply revelling in the companionship of a kindred soul. We are grateful that he never knew loneliness, only acceptance. In his years of new experiences, the one thing Diego never witnessed was the wild. We find solace though in knowing that his legacy lives on through his two granddaughters Hope and Crumbo, who were released into the wild as pups. They are now living a life that their grandfather only dreamt of, but through them Diego is experiencing the wild. As they grow and find love and create families of their own, they will make Diego proud. As we bid farewell to Diego, we think of Valencia and all of his biggest supporters, and we know that he's not truly gone. His wisdom and gentle leadership live on in his family, and he will continue to inspire all those who love Diego. We will continue the fight to safeguard the wild legacy that he leaves behind. R.I.P. Diego, we miss you already. A very sad farewell to Diego there, but it's nice to know that his spirit still lives on through those wolves that were released into the wild. Other than the sad news about Diego, which came in February, things had been quite good at the Wolf Conservation Centre, with the wolves being quite healthy and content. January kicked off the wolf breeding season, and the centre were hoping for some new members to join their wolf pack families this spring. So just before we hop into the news about our adopted wolf and her brother, we're going to have a quick look around the other wolf pack families and see what they've been up to. Members of the Trumpet and Lighthawk family have been doing quite well, and recently they were seen on webcam several times having some very interesting late night escapades. Apparently this family have perfected the art of rolling out of bed for a late night snack. During the month of January, some members of the family were checking out a noise near their fence and creatively using each other's backs as the perfect lookout perch to spot the source. And on another night they were having what looked to be some very animated family night patrol conversations. Nothing like a 10 PM meeting to keep you sharp. It's a safe bet that the word boring doesn't fit into this fabulous family's collective vocabulary. Coming into February, the month of love, Trumpet and Lighthawk and some family members had been catching up on their beauty sleep. Cupid also seems to be working his usual magic, as Lighthawk and Trumpet have been spending a lot more time together. Trumpet was even spotted hiding a Valentine present for Lighthawk near their den. Forget roses are out and Deerleg is in. A raccoon was also spotted near their enclosure, with some members of the family taking a keen interest while some others were just more interested in playing their game of tag. Family member Babs has been keeping a watchful eye on a woodpecker that has decided to make a nearby tree her home. Rosa and Family have been enjoying their brand new den and have decided to start a new exciting activity of keeping a lookout from on top of it. Wolves are very social animals, and during the cold month of January it was nice to see them solidifying their bond. This all-female family was living it up during the month of February. Mother Rosa, daughters Diane, Bria and Helene are embracing singledom with feisty flair. They were spotted by staff shifting their napping spot to a new section of their enclosure to switch things up a bit. Diane and Bria have been spending their time playing games of tug of war, and Helene has been keeping up her daily grooming schedule. What better time than the Valentine's season to prioritise oneself? And Mother Rosa has been just chilling, taking it all in. During the month of January, Belle and Rhett's family have been taking the time to get in as many naps as possible and have been keeping their noses warm in the cold weather with their tails. The pack decided in January that their ultimate favourite place to lounge is right next to the rock wall in their enclosure. They have also been ensuring that during the winter they're getting plenty of stretching time in. Perhaps they've decided to take up some yoga for the new year. During February, Rhett and Mouse were found chasing vultures around. The vultures may have wanted some takeout, but they were not about to give up their freshly delivered meal. After they had defended their deer, Rhett was ready to dig in, but Mouse, however, was still observing the vultures, ensuring that they were fully taken care of before he tucked into his meal. Sisters Nita and Jane were having fun playing games with each other, while Belle just watched from afar, lazily from her perch. Sam and family are getting the new year off to a great start with food aplenty, and have been eating a lot of their meals in front of their webcam, so that makes for some good and interesting watching. And as always, I'll leave a link down below to where you can check out the webcams for yourself. Even a lonely old raven was spotted joining in on the fun, waiting to see if there were any leftovers so he could snag a free snack. The team at the conservation centre said that they frequently find several bones scattered throughout the fence next to the enclosure. It would seem that the ravens and vultures are all too happy to help with keeping their enclosure clutter free. And feasting on food aside, the family have been taking playtime very seriously, as the team has spotted some of the siblings lightly roughhousing and being all around goofballs together. The family welcomed February with open paws, and although February has been a warmer than usual month for New York, there was a light dusting of snow which the wolves were very happy to play in. Marta and Skyray have been spotted side by side napping during the snowy days. Hunter, Max and Notch have not been the type to pass up some snowy playtime, and staff were delighted to spot them roughhousing in front of their dad Sam. Sam got bored pretty quick though and decided his time would be better spent to sniff around for the last of the leftovers. Tykan and Lava's new year has gotten off to a slow and sweet start, with the pair bundling up together in their den. In addition to some tender moments, Tyka's also made it a priority to work on his self-care this year, which is an excellent New Year's resolution. As for Lava, she too has embraced this goal and has frequently been spotted sitting on her new log tower with her paws fancifully crossed, being the absolute queen she is. During the month of February, Tyka and Lava seem to be enamoured with each other, giving each other plenty of heart eyes. These critically endangered red wolves play an important part to the healthy success of their populations both in the wild and in captivity. If their continued interest in each other means what we think it does, we may be lucky and see some pups this spring. Over at Sage and Jacques' house, Jacques has been rolling into the new year at a relaxed pace, while Sage, with her typical enthusiastic energy, has sprinted her way into it. It seems that new adventures are abound for this recently paired couple, and of course Sage isn't wasting any time seeking them out. She was recently spotted on a staff fence walk investigating a chipmunk that had wandered close to her fence. Jack was content to follow her gaze, but not too enthusiastic to budge from his spot in the sun. Coming into February, Sage and Jacques have started the sweetheart season out strong, as they've frequently been observed spending a whole lot of snuggle time together. They've been glued at the hip lately and always seen relaxing atop their incline in the enclosure, keeping a watch for any wayward squirrels or ravens. Sage has been keeping Jacques lively during the past few weeks, so he has certainly been getting his steps in. In fact, at the centre they reckon that if he had a step counter that he'd be leading ahead of all the other wolves. He doesn't seem to mind though, preferring to be around Sage as often as he can. So now that we've caught up with what was going on around some of the other enclosures, let's see what's been going on with our adopted wolf Alua and our brother Nikai. Alua and Nikai rang in the new year with some howls of celebration. They also thoroughly enjoyed the enrichment they were given around the holidays. Among Nikai's favourite smells were earthy scents like pine and seasonal scents like peppermint. Alua, on the other hand, was pretty fond of the eucalyptus. As for New Year's resolutions, we think Alua's might include fashioning herself a homemade den. She has been recently spotted with dirt coating her guard hairs, indicating that the endeavour has apparently been going well. Though she has 2 dens available in her enclosure, nothing beats a DIY project. Nikai hadn't yet made his resolutions very clear yet, but will be excited to see what adventures these siblings get up to this year. Coming into February, Alua and Nikai have been thoroughly enjoying the season of love, proving that family love is just as valuable and special. Nikai particularly has been witnessed multiple times attempting to get his sister to engage in a play session as he excitedly kneels down and wags his tail in an effort to capture her attention. Alua, ever the older, more serious sister, usually takes some time to think it through whether she'd rather get riled up in play or nap near their log cabin. Still, she has decided every now and again that being a bit more frivolous and fun is a great change of pace to her normally reserved demeanour. There's nothing like a little sibling bonding time to show the beauty of love we have with family, born or chosen. So it would seem that our adopted wolf Alua and our brother Nikai have been doing quite well over the last couple of months, and being March, I should get another update from the Wolf Conservation Centre very soon about how they've been doing over the last month. So that'll be included in the next wolf update video. So here are a couple of interesting wolf facts. Wolves disperse from their birth pack in order to find a mate which they will typically pair with for life. The wolves' breeding season starts around January and ends around March. One useful adaptation that wolves have is the size of their ears. The smaller a wolf's ears are, the easier it is to be able to retain heat in the cold. Lobo Week returns on March 26th. On March the 29th, 1998, 11 captive reared Mexican grey wolves were released to the wild for the first time in the Blue Range Recovery Area of Arizona and New Mexico. Missing from the landscape for more than 30 years, the howl of the rarest and most unique subspecies of grey wolf was once again greeted by the mountains of the southwest. This March marks a very special 25th anniversary of this historic event, a significant milestone for the Lobo and wildlife conservation. In recognition of the anniversary, the Wolf Conservation Centre is among the large group of partners participating in Lobo Week, an international movement to educate people about the Mexican wolf or lobo and our efforts to successfully restore this critically endangered wolf to its ancestral home in the wild. And to celebrate, the Wolf Conservation Centre have released some t-shirts and jumpers, and the purchase of these items will help the Wolf Conservation Centre's efforts to preserve and protect the critically endangered Mexican grey wolf. So if any of you guys are interested in supporting the Wolf Conservation Centre, do head over to their website and check out some of their merchandise. They have some pretty cool items in their store, so it's definitely worth a look. And as always here at Degenerate Watch, we will continue our support for the Wolf Conservation Centre by continuing our wolf adoption. And that should be coming up for renewal in June of this year, so stay tuned because I'll definitely have an update around June about that. In other news, Dublin Zoo says it has been vindicated by an independent report which suggests allegations that it had mistreated its animals were unfounded. A report by the National Parks and Wildlife Service arose out of allegations made by an anonymous whistleblower which were raised in the Shannon by Labour Senator Annie Hoey in July. The whistleblower listed 23 allegations of mistreatment of animals, and the allegations were made by way of a protected disclosure. The National Parks and Wildlife Service concluded that the whistleblower's claim that he or she had exhausted all options with the Dublin Zoo grievance procedures and that Dublin Zoo facilitated a culture of hiding wrongdoing and lacked transparency were untrue. Instead, Dublin Zoo is an organisation with an outstanding track record in animal welfare management, the National Parks and Wildlife Service stated. We are pleased that the good name and reputation of Dublin Zoo and its highly committed team of employees and volunteers who live and breathe Dublin Zoo's mandate, animal welfare, on a daily basis have been upheld. Of the 23 allegations, the National Parks and Wildlife Service considered 17 to be unfounded with no evidence supplied to support the narrative of the allegation. A further 2 were found to have no basis or evidence to even substantiate the allegation. 3 were classed as having some evidence supporting a historical allegation, but Dublin Zoo had already resolved these cases with changes in process, facility or management. Only 1 was upheld. It related to the red panda enclosure, which the whistleblower maintained was not built to best practice guidelines of the European Association of Zoos and Aquaria. However, the report also noted that Dublin Zoo's enclosure is consistent with other zoos in Europe and North America which house the same species. An allegation that no post-mortem was carried out on Harry the Western Lowland Gorilla was found to be false, as the post-mortem even featured on the RTE series The Zoo. Records going back to 1980 were studied and there was no case of an oryx calf starving to death as had been alleged in the protected disclosure. Similarly, an allegation that the Smiter horned oryx population in the zoo were inbred proved to be untrue. The National Parks and Wildlife Service investigated a claim that a female hunting dog was severely injured on the 21st of April this year and did not see a vet for 4 days. The whistleblower alleged that the dog died 3 days later from neglect. In reality, the dog was male, was injured on April 19th, saw a vet on April 20th and had 6 vet visits. 2 general anaesthetics, a surgical management of the wounds before dying on April 29th. In the Shannon, Senator Hoey referenced the treatment of Maeve the giraffe, who was euthanized at the age of almost 24 on June 28 last year. She stated that the giraffe had been mistreated as she lay dying and that the animal had a gaunt frame with her bones sticking out when she died. The National Parks and Wildlife Service investigation found Maeve was one of the oldest giraffes in Europe at the time of her death and that she was in reasonable condition given that she was suffering from a long-standing degenerative joint disease. The National Parks and Wildlife Service stressed that there were incidences where Dublin Zoo had made mistakes in the treatment of its animals but had responded with robust assessments of the cases and the introduction of measures which ensured that it would not happen again. This happened in the case of some California sea lions, which the report team found were being fed fish of a questionable quality in the years between 2018 and 2020, but this was not a continuous issue but one of intermittent incidents. The zoo learned from the process and currently the systems employ best practice in terms of feeding the sea lions. The National Parks and Wildlife Service concluded that in the investigation team's opinion, this demonstrates that Dublin Zoo is only human and that mistakes can happen, but where Dublin Zoo shows its true value is how and when it responds to these failures. These were single isolated cases rather than ongoing representations of chronic welfare problems at the zoo. So that's really positive news that those claims turned out to be false. To be quite honest, when I first heard these claims coming out, I was quite shocked, as we do support Dublin Zoo here at the channel, and it's a place that I'm quite fond of visiting myself. But I really couldn't imagine that an organisation such as Dublin Zoo would think that they would be able to treat their animals like that and get away with it. So I was taking those allegations with a pinch of salt. But you never know, guys, maybe it was just a case of somebody getting the wrong end of the stick. But thankfully everything worked out in the end. And for anybody new to the channel that's watching, we also adopted a wolf at Dublin Zoo. So that's why I added that little piece of news about Dublin Zoo, because I thought you guys might be interested. We're going to have to come up with a name for our channel mascot because it's been a long time coming, so keep your eyes out very soon because I'll be doing something in relation to that. But in the meantime, please leave your suggestions for potential names down below in the comments. And I would encourage everybody to go over and check out the Wolf Conservation Centre's website. There's some really good stuff over there, and you can also check out the webcams and see what the wolves are getting up to. So I'm going to leave a link down below in the description to their website and also to their store as well. They also have a pretty good collection of videos of the wolves on their YouTube channel, so I'll leave a link to that down below in the description as well. Any of you guys that have been with the channel since we started our wolf adoption will remember Zephyr the wolf, who was the wolf we initially adopted but who sadly passed away. Recently I had a photograph of Zephyr framed, which I received from the Wolf Conservation Centre, and it's now proudly hung up in the Degenerate Watch studios as a constant memorial to Zephyr. I think it's an absolutely amazing photograph and I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And hopefully, with all things going well, when June comes around and we renew our wolf adoption, we'll then have a picture of Alua to hang up in the Degenerate Watch studios as well, alongside her brother Zephyr. And that, guys, just about wraps things up for this wolf update. I thank you very much for joining me, and I hope you did enjoy it and I hope it was informative for you. Our next wolf update on the channel will probably be in about a month or 2 months time, depending on the level of news I have. But I am looking forward to seeing what our furry friends have been up to over the last little while. If you did enjoy the video, please don't forget to drop us a like, as it does really help the channel out. Subscribe so you never miss out on any future wolf updates and other videos we have on the channel. There are also links down below in the description for ways you can help support the channel if you like what we do here. Or alternatively, you can hit the little heart button down below this video to drop us a super thanks. And before I go, I want to give a shout out to everybody that's watching this with me on the premiere. Thank you very much for joining me, and a massive shout out to my channel members. Thank you very much for your continued support and encouragement. I hope you'll join me again for another video very soon here on Degenerate Watch, but until then, why not check out one of the videos that should be appearing on screen now. Until next time, guys, stay safe, take care, peace.